Good afternoon. I am Dr. Williams, and I'm an associate professor at Bowie State University. I work in with the graduate department, but what we're going to discuss is something that we're doing with our undergraduates. And you all may be very familiar with simulation, but we're going to show you a different twist that we are trying and have been implementing in our university with our undergraduate students. And I will be co-presenting with Miss Allison Griffith, and she is our simulation coordinator.
Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Griffith. I am the simulation coordinator at Bowie State University, and today we will be explaining the design and implementation of student-directed open simulation model to advance undergraduate nursing competencies. We will also describe the implementation model and learner-centered strategies utilized to promote autonomous skill development for undergraduate nursing students and simulation-based education. And we will also discuss the outcomes, challenges, and future direction for sustaining student-centered simulation and nursing curricula. Ooh, that was a mouthful.
We do not have any disclaimers for today, but what we do want you to know is one of the things we will be discussing today, many of you may heard about simulation, right? That's where we have your nurses that come out, your new graduates, and we use high fidelity, low fidelity taskmaster. And what we're going to do is talk to you about how we recognize a need based off of our students. And then we then developed simulation lab for the students by the students.
So yes, as Dr. Williams spoke about that, this simulation open lab was a request by our students. Students are required to go out to clinical before they are, sorry y'all, students are required to participate in simulation-based experience before they go out to clinical and then when they return to clinical. So what I've noticed across all cohorts from our fundamental students to our senior students, they were requesting more opportunities to participate in simulation. So a light bulb went off in my head and I was like, oh, okay, so what about if we have, instead of having a skills lab, what about having an alternative way for our students to learn? So what about simulation open lab where they can come choose their learning objectives? Because students know what they don't know, right? They are the assessors of themselves. And so they know what they don't know and know what gaps need to be closed. So I took it to the chair, our leadership team, and it sat there for a little bit. And then I took it to my colleague, Dr. Williams, and she brought it up in one of our faculty org meetings. And faculty was excited. After we really explained what that would do to help our students close knowledge gap and build their confidence, everyone jumped on board. So we were really excited, but it really came from the inquiry of our students wanting to be able to close their knowledge gap and be confident going out to the clinical setting. So that's how it all started. So we were really excited about that. And then with competency-based learning, we wanted to make sure that moving with the schools moving to competency-based learning, we wanted to make sure that we not only allow our students the opportunity to practice skills, but also opportunity to understand why they was doing what they doing. So we wanted to make sure that we was in alignment with the accredited and regulatory bodies too. So this is a little overview about what we have at in our simulation resource center at Bowie State University. So we have a fundamental skills lab, pediatric, OB, maternal, newborn, and health assessment suites. We do have an open skills lab where they can just come and practice skills from 9 to 5. And that open skills lab is led by one of our student alum who came back to give back to the community. So we love that because he understands what the students going through and he's able to share with our students, to be comfortable and stuff like that when they come and practice. So we love the peer-to-peer mentorship that we have with that. So we also have a lot of mannequins. We have about 20 mid and high fidelity simulators. We have debriefing rooms, control rooms, medication administration rooms. So it's really set up and designed for students to really authentically place themselves in an environment as if they were in the clinical setting. That's how it's designed. And we also have Harvey, which is one of my favorites. He's a cardiopulmonary simulator who allows students the opportunity to assess over 60 different heart sounds, abnormal heart sounds, and 60 abnormal and a variety of breath sounds that they won't be exposed to out in the real clinical world. So I really love that for our students. Yes.
So what we did was we took what you all are doing in the actual hospital setting, and we're replicating that in our educational setting for our students. We do and have always kind of intertwined simulation throughout our curriculum. What makes this different is the students verbalized that they recognize they needed more simulation experience early on in their curriculum. We had been hearing from the faculty that the students weren't performing the way they needed to. So it was not only the student we were listening to the faculty as well. With that in mind, and with Ms. Allison having a conversation with me, we then decided we were going to focus on that novice nurse. That's where Brenner comes in. We were going to look at those students who had very little to no clinical experience, and we were going to build a simulation. This was not just doing a blood pressure. This was a whole case scenario. So if a student came in and said, we needed to talk, I need to learn more about therapeutic communication. I need to know how to take a blood pressure. Then what we would do is craft a whole simulation case. It may be an asthma patient. It may be an elderly patient. They would come in and they would spend time with that patient in the simulation lab. And we would do that whole event, focusing on whatever the goals, the objectives that the student identified, also looking at the course curriculum, looking at what were the objectives of that course and what was the learning outcomes that the faculty wanted. So we put the two together. So when we think about how we actually implemented this, so yes, this was a grand idea. And of course, like many of you, we are all overworked, overtasked. I think many of the colleagues before me talked about how we're doing 50,000 things. So you're like, well, how do you add one more thing to your cup? That's kind of how I got involved as the graduate faculty. I have an extensive history in working in simulation with the military. So I said, okay, my graduate students may not need it as much. I have some time where I can come in during the day. Let's work this out together. So along with Ms. Allison, we talked to the students, we talked to the faculty, we talked to leadership. We went to them with a plan. This is what we would like to do. This is what the students are saying they need. We already have the resources. We have one of the state-of-the-art simulation centers, over 12 beds with everything you could possibly utilize in there. So we have the resources. I have the experience. We have a simulation team. Let's put it together. The students say they want it. We then looked at, well, how are we going to know if this is effective or not? Are we going to be trying to do something formal or is it going to be informal? We chose to do informal at the beginning because it was student driven. We didn't want their stress level up. We wanted them to come in and say, this is a safe space. We can communicate with those individuals who are running this sim without any problems. We then said, well, we'll just look at the course outcomes. So we, from the faculty and from the sim staff, we would know what the outcome should be, but it would be very non-judgmental and low pressure for the student. We also said, once we do all of this, we will constantly do what I like to call in military terms, after action review. So after every simulation event with each student, we're constantly looking, how can we do it better? What did we miss? What do we need to do differently? And at the end, you'll hear some of the things that we recognize we have to change within this event. But what we're doing is we're still executing this to today. And Ms. Allison's going to talk to you exactly about what that implementation looks like for our students. It's a very simple way of discussing it for you all, but we just want you to say, this is how we implemented it and how we're doing it currently.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. You're welcome. The implementation model. So we wanted to have a structured way of doing things because when you put things in structure, it tends to flow a little, especially when it's new, it tends to flow better. So we got together and we decided that students would sign up at least a week in advance. Before I go there, before the start of every semester, we admit twice a year. We make sure that we have this this tool available for students to sign up, because we want to capture them early than later. So we want to capture them right at the beginning of the semester in case they do run into some difficulties with their grades and stuff and come in the middle and we can't help them close those knowledge gaps and stuff. So we make sure that this tool is available early on to help our students. And we identify the objectives they would like to practice, as Dr. Williams mentioned. And we also review, we have a request that in which all faculty across all cohorts have to upload their syllabus and their course calendar, because when we are structuring or creating the simulations, we want to make sure that we are creating them, everyone is aligned with the students, with the faculty, and with the SIM team. So we want to make sure that we are all on one accord when we are doing that. And then we go to the pre-briefing. So in pre-brief, as a simulation coordinator, just as a nurse period, I think that it's important. I think we talked a lot about nurses feeling safe, and our students need to feel safe too. And the simulation, when they engage in that don't feel too good. They nervous, like I am right now, nervous, trying to figure it all out. And, we want to provide a psychologically safe environment for them. So we want to model that, give that, support that in all we do. So pre-briefing is where we spend a lot of times just encouraging them to embrace the simulation and don't even think about it, just embrace it, because what you know to do, you'll do, and what you don't do. And we'll help you close those knowledge gaps and figure out how to get you where you need to be. So we also do a simulation event for 30 minutes. Sometimes we may let it go if they in it and they figuring it out. We may let it go a little past 30 minutes. And then, of course, where we all do the reflective practice, and debriefing is very important to me. We spend 10 to 15 minutes on doing that reflective practice with the students. And then students have to complete a survey, to capture that data. Because it's new, we want to capture the data and understand the feedback on what we need to do as faculty and staff, or what we can do as a team to make it a better learning experience for them. So yeah, these are the QR codes that we use that students have to sign up, and then that's the evaluation tool that we have, and just a few pictures to kind of show you a little bit about the simulation center.
And as you see this picture, what you can see is the last picture. So what happens is the students will be across on the other side of that window. We're sitting in that debriefing room. They can't see us, but we can see them. And we have a microphone. So as you see our high fidelity simulators in the bed, our voice comes through there. So they can hear our voice coming through there as if we are that patient. And then we have monitors on the screen, on the walls, so they can do their EKGs, their vital signs, everything. And we're behind talking through as if we're that patient. He's breathing, we can make his lips turn blue, all of that. So that's the experience that they're getting in just this one simulation room. We do have others. We have birthing mom, so she can actually birth a whole baby, and we can take them through that. The one thing we love about it is that we're on one side of the room, the student is on the other one getting the experience. And then what we can do afterwards, we go in and we debrief with them. And so that becomes wonderful. And I just want to reiterate, when Ms. Griffith talked about us making sure the students had access, the faculty have bought into this open simulation. So they make sure at the beginning of every semester on our community website for our students, the link and all the information is there, along with our standard operating procedure that tells them how they signed up, when they sign up, and they can even reach out to us individually as faculty. This is given to them beginning of the semester, and each faculty and undergrad reminds their students that this isn't available. We have come across recognizing now that the faculty want us to do a lot more than what we're doing right now. So we're working on building it out even more. We did want you all to see, when it comes down to how the students sign up, this is what it looks like. They'll tell us what course they're in. They get to identify what their objectives that they would like to work on, and then we look at their course syllabi and we see how it aligns. They then choose the time that they want. It is not us choosing time saying you have to come here. This also, we recognize that the day that we're actually running the simulation was student driven. They chose a Friday morning, so that's why we're doing it on Fridays. We know that we'll change that, and we'll talk about why we'll have to change that on the other end. But this is just a basic form. Once they complete this form, it then tallies to myself, Ms. Griffith, and our simulation technician. So we all can man this and know when the students sign up. I'm quite sure, just like nurses, sometimes they wait to the last minute, they got to get those credentials in, and you're emailing your nurse saying, hey, your CPR is expired. Sometimes our students do the same thing. They don't do the week in advance. It's a last minute. But what's great is 3 of us looking at it, so they can say, Dr. Williams, hey, I know it's Thursday. Someone signed up. What does your schedule look like? Can you make some adjustments?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. This is our evaluation tool. It was an evaluation tool created on some questions that we wanted to know. Like, we wanted to make sure that we were meeting the needs of the students, and also just getting feedback from the students. That was very important to us. So it's just I'm not going to say basic questions, but these questions really help us to grow every semester. And this is the second semester that we have are doing this. So I'm very excited about that, to see what the comments are. But overall, the comments have been great. I don't have one bag. It's 5 out of 5 all the way across the boards. The only thing that has really changed on there is they want more days to do simulation. So, and we don't have a lot of faculty to do that. We only have
And one thing about our evaluation tool, and this is also something our leadership talks to, right? We all like data. And they were like, we want something that's measurable. We want something that's been proven. But what we tried to tell them is this is student driven. It's different when I'm working with the other simulation events where we are aligning that with something that has to be in our core curriculum. So our evaluation tool reflects the student and not reflecting what the faculty wants. That is going to be a whole nother development that we're going to be working on. And then that just leads us to our next steps. Where are we going from here? We've run our open simulation student directed. Now we're on our 2nd semester. One of the first things we know is got to be flexible. Our student schedules change, right? From semester to semester. So one great thing is I'm graduate faculty. So I'm teaching in the evening, but it does require me to have to be there now on different days. We recognize that Fridays is not the only day they want. So I then now have to work with my leadership about what my schedule and my demands are so that I can continue to offer it. But the students have spoken that they want it, and our faculty are behind it. It's kind of, our colleagues before were talking about innovation. This is innovation in real time on the academic level. The other thing we recognize is strengthening our faculty. I am one person. I still have to practice because I'm a nurse practitioner as well. I have my graduate students to work with, and life balance. So training our other faculty to be versed in simulation, not just skills lab, but actual simulation. So we're setting up and doing simulation trainings so that anytime any faculty can move in and out of this open simulation for our students. This will allow us to meet the students' needs, hopefully improve the self-efficacy of our students, their confidence, so that they're better off from the beginning of the program, not towards the end. I'm quite sure you all have heard the nurses come in and say it took them quite some semesters before they felt comfortable. Our goal is to try to get that in the beginning, right? The other thing is the feedback is constantly recognizing we have to keep going back, getting the feedback, because our students change, right? No one student is the same. So the feedback is probably going to look different. Also, the feedback from our faculty. What they've now told us is they want us to do a lot more remediation, which requires a lot more. So we are now in conversations about what that would look like in simulation. Because as you can imagine, when you're running a simulation event, it may only be 30 minutes per student, but it takes us about 3 to 4 hours to set up for the simulation. Then we got to break down the simulation. And if we use birth and mom, that's about 4 hours because we got to lube her down, clean her up, and then you got to work in between. And we've also had students that have come to us and we were doing a simulation and they asked their faculty, could they come over? And they wanted to work more with us in simulation. We did try it. It was phenomenal for the students, stressful for us. So we're still working to try to say it's growing bigger than we imagined, but we are very excited that we can offer that. We haven't seen a lot of literature about a student-directed open simulation, but we do know the evidence is very strong on what simulation can do for our nurses as they become new nurses and hopefully come work for you all. So that's what we're doing at Bowie State. Thank you so much for listening.